Hello and welcome to another episode of KOPEND Fracas. As you can see, hopefully you can see. Maybe if you're on Spotify and Apple Music, then you probably can't see us. But we have a visual now up on screen. We're all on video from Zoom, so hopefully you guys are enjoying. If you're not sure already, then please go over to our YouTube page, Touchline Fracas. You can subscribe and like the video while you're there. Please check us out. Whew. On to today's cast. I'm joined with the fantastic host of last week's brilliant pod with Raphael Honigstein. Krish.
You're far too kind. You're far too kind. And I'm joined by the newly crowned YouTube king himself, Mr. Harold.
Oh, far from it. Good to have you here. You all well?
I'm good, thank you, bruv. I look about age 12 because I didn't think I was on the pod this week, so I decided to shave. So apart from that, no, I'm all good.
Happy to hear it. Awesome. We also have the fantastically looking youthful man that is Kevin.
Thank you very much. What's going on, guys? How are you? I thought you lot stitched me up with the video Zoom because I had the Mane going on over the weekend. So
You look good, bro. You look good. You look just like me, to be honest. Can't lie, man. Looking like the last ball that you pot in pool, bro. You're looking fantastic.
Thank you.
Also joined by the brilliant Anik. Happy to have you.
How's it going, guys? You all right?
Sick. And last but definitely not least, King Marco.
Good, what's good, people? Definitely the youngest looking one, no beard at all, so definitely had to cover the heads. Not shaving for shit.
Awesome. All right, cool. So we put out a tweet today talking about what we're going to do today. So obviously we're going to cover the 05 final. As you know, the anniversary of that, probably the best Champions League final that we've ever had, was on Monday. So we're going to cover that a little bit later in the pod. I'm going to start off something a little bit in topic. That is the Bundesliga. Recently returned about 2 weeks ago or so. We've been craving football, so it's been interesting seeing what it's been like in Germany, them being so ahead of the game. It's good to actually have some football and also without any incidents that we've known so far. So everything seems to be going so well. So awesome to have that. But on that note, and following on from what I mentioned earlier in regards to Raphael Honigstein's interview with us last week, we spoke about Timo Werner to quite a length, and also with our James Pearce interview. He's been closely linked with us, twerking for a move, we have to say. From the last couple of games that you've watched him, and let's say of recent, would you say your thoughts on him are better, worse, indifferent? What do you guys think? I'll start off with you, Krish.
I think I've made it a little bit about it. Well, I think I've not been his biggest fan over the past few months, to put it a little bit lightly. I just think there's other players that we possibly could have pursued who would be of more use in our system. But I think watching him a bit more clearly as opposed to when I watched him more about 2 seasons ago, kind of in that 2018 World Cup and a little bit after that, you can definitely see how he's grown as a player. And how versatile he is more than anything, how he can drop deep, link attack and midfield, how he can play on the left and through the middle. And I think for the price, considering what's going on in terms of, the markets right now for transfers and finances, it feels like it's going to be a really good move. And I'll be made to eat my own words from previous podcasts. So,
Also, part of the reason why I feel that you are not too keen on him is because there's been a lot of talks about him replacing Bobby Firmino. But if you watch him and the way he plays, he does live up to that number 11 that he has for Leipzig, in that he does play on the left quite a lot. So what do you guys think about him possibly being part of a front three that still does include Roberto Firmino? So I'll ask Anik, what do you think about that?
So I think it could work. I think what we do ideally need as a replacement for the free, or to come in and fill in for the free, is one that could play right across the lines. So I do think if he did come in on the left, I think it could work. But I think from what I've seen of him, I think his best position would be through the middle.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, the thought of Werner in the middle, Mane, Salah on either wings is frightening. And I also did post in the group because I was leaning closer to a Werner left, Salah middle, Mane on the right. and obviously we haven't seen Mane on the right since his debut season for us.
Mhm.
So it'd be quite interested to see how that will gel. But anyway,
But
Marco,
I think on that point, Harold, I think that probably could work because we have seen Salah through the middle last year. We also have seen Mane as well on the right. Whether it will work as a free, I mean, I'm not sure, but I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah, I do like Salah through the middle. I do because he looks like a player who can't really use his body so much, and I'm not going to liken him in any way, shape, or form to Drogba, but he can play with his back to goal in the same way Drogba did, and he also has that turn of pace, which makes him almost like a double threat. You don't know whether to stick or whether to stay or go kind of thing for the defender. So yeah, it keeps up that unpredictability about him. But Marco, what do you think about the prospect of Timo Werner joining, and how would he fit in, and what do you think about his couple of performances since Bundesliga started?
Cool. I've been a big advocate for Werner for a minute. I've wanted to see him, especially at that price. I'm kind of against the whole removing Bobby thing, though. And I'm sure I have been saying this for quite a while.
Yeah, go on.
I've been saying this for quite a while, that my ideal front four, so my ideal attack would be 4 players that can all play in each position. Yeah. Ideally in a 4-2-3-1, and everyone can play in that attacking third and can interchange and basically cause havoc. From what I've seen, you can see the threat he offers, you can see how we can get it behind, you can see what he offers us. From watching him before Corona, I can see where Chris has his issues in terms of missed chances, in terms of not being able to link up play as well as Bobby can.
Yeah. And
I remember voicing that might break down a few of our attacks. But like Chris said, again, you can see how he has grown, and I believe under Klopp's tutelage will just continue improving. He'll be able to build that relationship with Salah, Mane and Firmino, whether they play together or if they play in a 3 or whoever is used. Yeah, but ideally I would want to see all 4 play together. I think it would be an absolute nightmare for defenders.
Cool. So yeah, last question for you, Kev, on Timo Werner. That is, so just piggybacking on what Mark just said, what do you think about the prospect of all 4 of them playing? How do you feel that balances out the squad? And who do you think will play where? And what are your general thoughts on Timo Werner? Sorry, that was a lot in one question, but yeah.
That's all right, bro. To be fair, with Werner, I've kind of watched him ever since we were interested in Naby. So what's that, 2017 season? So I've kind of watched him from there, and he caught my eye, but he was very inconsistent as such, as like you were saying earlier. And the ball would bounce off him, or he might run it out of play or something along those lines. But he's always been a goal threat. Now his numbers have gone up. He's scoring goals. I'll be totally honest. I don't see all 4 of them on the same pitch consistently. I'm going to go against the grain and say I would like to see him rotate with Firmino. And the reason I say that, I feel Werner would score more goals. Yes, you might miss that sort of silk that Firmino brings to the game in linking up and stuff. But if we were to get a silky midfielder, or Naby actually turned up to the party, I mean, Naby linking up with Werner, Firmino coming off the bench.
Yeah, it's nice.
I was just about to say something about that.
Do you know what I mean?
By the way,
I don't think I need to say more really, but
it is a nice prospect. So
as shameless as I'm gonna be, sorry Harold, I just really need to be extremely shameless right now. Watch my boy Naby.
Yeah,
watch my boy Naby. Watch my boy Naby.
I won't lie, yeah. I'm still defending that.
Watch my boy Naby.
I'm still defending Naby in WhatsApp groups and that, but I'm not defending him with my sword and shield anymore. Maybe just my shield, like the sword's gone.
Man's more a bit of a defensive, but watch my boy Naby towards the end of the season. 10 and 10 still there.
Is that Naby and Lallana or just Naby?
I mean, I said 10 and 10. I think they're on 2 and 2 right now.
Yeah?
I don't know, but...
with 2,000 people.
I mean, you know what's going to happen.
Okay.
That's as criminal as Ellis's Ryan Brewster prediction.
No, honestly, right?
You know what? I have to stand by it. That has to be the hill that I die on. Naby is going to get. Naby and Lallana are going to get 10 and 10 this season.
What, each, yeah?
This season?
Together.
All right, cool.
Okay.
So we're 2/3 through, and they need to get another 2/3 basically.
I mean,
King Marco is back. Welcome back, my good man.
was good.
Okay, fantastic. So just on topic, we're speaking about silky midfielders, Kev, and another question for you. Just on the back of what you said. Obviously, we have a lot banking on Naby coming through, but there is another player who can play a slightly deeper role and can also play a forward role, and that man is, for an extortionate fee, is Kai Havertz. So let's say fees not playing a part. Who are you picking between them and why, Kev?
I'll be totally honest. I've seen Havertz play 3 times, I think. I think the first time he was playing for Germany, and then I saw him play against Dortmund. And this shout could be wild, and it might cut out again, I'm not sure. But for me, he's like a cross between like Ozil and Kaka, I found. But
okay.
He scores goals, nice technically, looks quite powerful.
He scores more headers than I gave.
I was just going to comment to that. He gets into the box. I see him linking up quite well with his other attackers and teammates and stuff. But I'd probably lean towards Werner a bit more because he's interchangeable in the front 3. I've watched him for the past 3 years. He's on a steady improvement. And also, we're kind of a sort of counter-attacking, intense team. He seems like he's got more intensity to his game. He's more willing, where probably been a bit judgmental to Havertz, but I don't know. I probably need to watch him a bit more, to be honest with you, but I'm Werner.
Cool. And Chris, how about yourself? Interested to hear your thoughts.
I've made no secret either that I'm a big Kai Havertz fan. I think at one point I was literally banging on the table for him. Not even metaphorically, literally. He's such an interesting player that he can kind of fill in about 4 different positions on the pitch. So he can play a little bit deeper. He can play in a functional normal midfield as a number 10, as a false 9. And he can play on the right wing as well. But I still primarily see him as a through the middle player, which I guess in the current way that we play is a bit of a problem. I think we had this conversation with Rafa Honigstein last week when we were talking about Kai Havertz. I think the fee was a massive issue because they're not going to budge from that kind of 90 to 100 million euro asking price that they've got. When, regardless of the market, they should, that's their asset, and they value him at a certain price, and you shouldn't fade away from that. I think all clubs shouldn't at the moment. But yeah, I would lean towards Kai Havertz because I think he can become kind of one of the next great footballers in Europe. He's just got that ability about him. He's just got such a confidence when he's on the ball, and the fact that he can kind of do the things he can positionally at his early age leaves so much more to be wondered in his development. And if he ends up with a top class coach like Jurgen Klopp, I think the sky would be the limit. But again, I think the limitations for us at the moment would be in the 4-3-3. It's kind of difficult to see where he fits in. Whereas in the 4-2-3-1, you could definitely see where he would play. So my heart would say Kai Havertz, but my head would say Timo Werner, which is a bit of a shocker.
Okay, wow. I'm surprised. I thought you'd say every part. I thought you'd say every organ would go for Kai Havertz. Fair enough. Mark, how about yourself?
I've got the same sentiment as Chris, to be honest, and I don't want to echo exactly what he said, but Kai looks like the better prospect. Werner is good, and we can see the need for him in the team because obviously we need goals. Bobby doesn't give us the goal output that we would want, although we can see what we can bring to the team. But to me personally, I feel like Kai offers an ingenuity that I haven't seen among young players before. Well, young players in this era, generation, I guess. He just seems like he will go on to progress to be a very, very world-class talent, as opposed to Werner, who I can see bagging a lot of goals, but never hitting the heights of Ballon d'Or or being in the conversation for a Ballon d'Or.
Okay, fair enough. So your reason is probably just because you think that Havertz is just, I say, probably has more talent as a footballer.
Yeah, and I feel like that's reflected in the value. I feel like 80, so it was about 90 to 100 million euros, which is about 82 million pounds, as opposed to Werner's 52 million pounds. And I feel like that 30 million pound premium will show itself in the future. Who I would say, sorry
Marco, but with Werner, is from a transfer, it's from an actual clause in his contract saying that will be however much he'll be releasing. It's not necessarily indicative of his value. So do you feel as though? So in fact, let me ask you this: who do you think will get the most output in our team out of Havertz and Werner?
Dependent. So
and no, I'm not saying influence, but output in particular, because I think I know who has the most influence.
Harold's come with the good questions here. The good return on investment.
Yeah, really good return. The 4-3-3 is hard to see where Havertz would play. I feel like in a 4-2-3-1, it would be criminal to say that Havertz won't get a better output in terms of goals and assists. We can see how many goals and assists he's getting from playing a variety of positions at Leverkusen at the moment. We've seen him in a deeper role get goals and assists. I feel like with his ingenuity and the players that would be surrounding him, so Salah, Mane and whatever striker it may be, I feel like he is intelligent enough to be able to find them in enough goal-scoring positions to get enough assists, and intelligent enough to find himself in the right places to pick up the goals. Whereas opposed to Werner, I feel like Werner would be a goal machine. He'll probably hit maybe 20 goals for us. Assist-wise, I don't know. Echoing what I said before, I don't feel like his link-up play is up to scratch yet. I don't know. We can always theorize the trajectory of a player and how well he will progress, but theoretically, things don't always pan out. With Havertz, it's already there. Yeah.
Fair enough. Cool. So
just a quick, Mark. Just a quick one. Sorry, Harold. A quick one, Mark. Do you think, just going back to the 4-3-3 question, do you think if he played in the midfield, do you think he could do the defensive responsibilities and the positional responsibilities that you'd ask like?
I haven't seen enough of him defensively, and I feel like it will. From what I have seen, I feel like it'll fall off the balance of the team. That's why I've been advocating for the shift to a 4-2-3-1. I feel like with the 4-3-3, if he was to play in the midfield of, let's say, Fabinho, Gini, and himself, it would need Gini to sit back a lot more. So, like, to do a lot of the running that Havertz won't be able to do defensively because he's so far up the pitch and his attacking instincts carry him there. But I'm not too sure. I haven't seen too much of him defensively to know, but that's just based on the game that I have seen.
No, to be fair, I feel the same.
Can I just say something, guys?
Go on.
I've never really liked the 4-2-3-1, you know.
I think that's my favorite. I think that's my favorite formation.
No, listen, okay. If I'm playing Pro Evolution, FIFA, or whatever, yes.
Let's talk about that.
But for Liverpool, I don't like it. Right. I remember when we had Coutinho in there, and then teams just snuffed Coutinho out, and that was us done. So I feel with 4-3-3, there's variety. Attacking players can pick up different positions. Bobby can drop deep. The two wingers can come in as inverted forwards. Then we've got marathon runners in midfield that can just go box to box. And then we've got the fullbacks that can deliver into the box. So I find 4-3-3 has better variations of attacking for our players. Where 4-2-3-1, I always think just rigid. The passing lines are rigid. You're relying on the 10. And if the 10 gets snuffed out, then that's that.
You know
all right. Say, Howard, can I just go back on that? Because we're talking about FIFA now. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. So about 2 years ago, I was playing 4-2-3-1 with Liverpool. To this day, I still do sometimes. So I put Naby in the 10. And what my preferred strategy would be those three attacking midfielders all float. They're not restricted to those positions. So let's say Mane is on the left, Salah on the right. They can both pop up in the middle if they wanted to, wherever they see the space. And I feel like you can only do that with intelligent players. I feel like Mane, Salah, and say Havertz for example of the argument, for sake of the argument, sorry. I feel like he would be intelligent enough to be able to move around with them and create that movement of everybody popping up everywhere. And that's going back to my fluid front four kind of view of the number 9 being able to drop as a number 10, the left winger to be able to push up as a top guy and be the number 9, and everybody being able to interchange in that form, because I feel like that's very, very hard to defend against. When we played Man U and I think it was Brandon Williams and Luke Shaw on the left for Man U, and they doubled up on Salah, you can see how easy it is to get a certain player out of a game if you target them. And I feel like with the 4-2-3-1 where everyone can roam, it'll be very, very difficult for one person, or let's say you set up a game plan to negate that player, it'll be very, very hard for you to stick to that. Especially if, let's say you put, in the same vein, you put Brandon Williams and Luke Shaw on the left to negate Salah, and all of a sudden Salah's on the right. So,
okay, but then Marco,
I mean,
on that note of what you're saying about Salah in particular, are you talking about the game at Old Trafford or the game at? In fact, he didn't play the game at Old Trafford, did he? Or am I going mad? He didn't play the Old Trafford game, but he played the game at Anfield, right?
No, I'm talking about last season's game.
Oh, last season's game.
Yeah, they played 5 at the back last season.
Oh, okay,
I believe it was Brandon Williams and Luke Shaw.
Because I was going to say Salah against United this season, he was having a jolly up at Anfield.
Yeah. This season was fun.
You know what?
Last season, he got shut out of the game a little bit. I think that was the 0-0. Firmino got taken off. Just my 2
cents on the whole 4-2-3-1. We've played it a couple of times, and I don't know why, because to me it's just a variation of the 4-3-3. But when we play a 4-2-3-1, for some reason we just lack fluidity. For some reason, it's almost as if it becomes a 4-2-4, and there's like a disbalance in our team. And I can't remember exactly who was sitting. Perhaps it wasn't Fabinho and another partner, but Fabinho and someone else, it just didn't work. Somehow Fabinho in a single pivot is much better than Fabinho in a double pivot. I feel as though he knows his role, and he cleans up, and then he sweeps, and he then start playing. Almost strange combination of Alonso and Mascherano is what we have in Fabinho, I feel. But when we play a 4-2-3-1, I just don't feel like it fully works for our team as opposed to the 4-3-3. Like it's hard to explain. But Kev, you had the same idea in my mind. I just haven't seen a game recently for me to remember. But
I know exactly what game you're talking about as well, and I think it's a personnel thing, because I remember Shaqiri's supposed to be playing in number 10, and he was popping up on the right so much, and it was pissing me off because it left so much space for them to counter-attack on us when we lost the ball. And I feel like with the right personnel, it can work. Okay. Who the right personnel is, I don't know.
I think you're so when it's 4-2-3-1, I think you're solely reliant that one of the 2 DMs is a proper passer.
Yeah.
Because I think we used to put Hendo and Wijnaldum there. Yeah. Neither of them are really going to go and pick the ball up and pop it through the line into the 10 or the attacking players. So I feel that there's a disconnect from the midfield and the attack with 4-2-3-1. Then you've got 2 players out the game goes past them, and then
the back 4. For some reason,
there's something about it. It's not for me.
I fully get what you're saying as well. For some reason, we have more players in the middle, yet we look more vulnerable. It's very strange, but that's why I feel like that. What you're saying, it's almost like it's defense, midfield, attack. It's no like, and the attack is literally just that one man up front. There's no like midfield going into attack. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, here you are, take the ball and then go do what you want. The midfield is long gone. Do you know what I mean? Despite that almost happening nowadays, like, I don't feel it's to that extent to where it's just a front 3 just doing their own thing. Like Wijnaldum might pop up and confuse a defender, and Hendo might pop up like he did against Spurs and grab a goal kind of thing. So, but yeah, that's my own thoughts on the 4-2-3-1. But Marco, you could be right. It could be a personnel thing. We didn't play necessarily our strongest team there. And who knows, if new additions and stuff like that, it could work. So you make a very fair point. Cool. So moving forward, just the last topic on just the last question or the last thoughts on Bundesliga. Friend of the pod, also currently on the pod, and also mostly the host of the pod, Christian, has asked a question or a thought to us, just for you guys to ponder. He says, thoughts on American TV having crowd noises in the commentary for this weekend's Bundesliga game felt unnecessary and way too artificial. What are you guys' thoughts on it? We did have Raphael on last week. Yeah, that's first name basis. Yeah, we know him like that. Check it out. Yeah, all of that. We had him on last week where he mentioned about Borussia Mönchengladbach having the cutouts of a fan in the stands, and then went on to say that Dortmund would never do that. It feels like it's disrespectful, etc., etc. But yeah, I'm keen for you guys to give me your 2 cents on it and what you think. So I'll start with you, Anik. Haven't heard from you in a while.
So I will be pretty much against anything like that, to be honest with you. I think, we're Liverpool, and, this means more. I think it would be disrespectful, to us to have any noise, any artificial noise, any cardboard cutouts. I don't think it would really do sort of justice to us and to the players, but that's just my view on it. I don't know actually how else they could generate a bit more of an atmosphere or generate some sort of, vibe in the stadium. But yeah, I just think artificial noise, I think that's just a step too far for me.
Do you know what though? It is, I feel like it's a blessing and a curse not to have fans. A blessing is the fact that we can hear exactly what the coaches are saying on the touchline, like loud and clear. It's quite intriguing to hear what they say. Obviously the curse is that there's just been a lack of atmosphere. When someone scores, it's almost like you're playing in goals. Like it's just like a cages kind of game. It's not really a game. Just a fist bump and then you walk back to the center circle, calm. But yeah, interesting to hear what else you guys have to say. Chris, I know you asked the question, but I'm going to ask you what you think about it, and perhaps what you think could be an alternative to it.
Well, here's my own opinion on my own question. Yeah, I thought it was really weird. It just felt, like I said, it felt really artificial and just a bit unnecessary. So that there's not any crowd there. There's a maximum about 50 people in the stadium, and that level of noise just can't be generated.
Yeah,
I think Anik made the best point. To be fair, we have this means more. It's the Liverpool family kind of thing, and to pump in any artificial noise, it kind of makes it feel as though whatever you do as a fan is made redundant by something that's a bit, artificial and on a soundtrack that could be, plugged in from Spotify or something. So yeah, it's a little bit disrespectful from that end. The cardboard cutouts, I actually disagreed a little bit with Rafa on that. I actually thought it was a pretty fun idea. I mean, I think Mönchengladbach were charging about €15 for someone to have their cardboard cutout in the stadium. And when they were playing at the weekend, I watched that game, and it looked pretty. It looked the.
Oh wait, so it's actual people. It's not just like it's actual people's cardboard cutout in the stadium, right?
So it's like so it's like it's a full length cutout of somebody, and then they put them in the seats. So it really looks like those old FIFA graphics.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
So yeah, from that point of view, I thought that was a pretty good idea, but I can understand where Rafa came from. That good friend of the pod, Rafa Honigstein, came from
there. Yeah, shameless plug, don't care. Kev, how about yourself? What do you think about it?
To be honest, I've watched the clip with the artificial noise, and I didn't think it was that bad, Maybe that's just because I haven't watched football in ages, and in my desperation to have football back, I'll take anything.
Yeah. All of us.
But the cardboard cutout, I thought was a bit ridiculous. But now you've said that they were actual sort of visuals of people. It's not a bad idea, to be honest with you, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is.
I think the
I don't know.
artificial
I
noise.
just think we have to go with the times, don't we? We have to just go with the
True.
times sometimes.
Just thinking about the artificial noise, I think it depends on the occasion more than anything. So they're saying if you're in a like a championship playoff semi-final or a playoff final, it would make more sense for that occasion as opposed to Burnley v Southampton, for example.
Yeah.
I think if it fits the occasion, it makes sense. But just for a normal game, it doesn't really bother me. So,
I mean,
go on. Sorry.
just on the cardboard cutout, I just don't see how that could work. I mean, just imagine you're a footballer. And you go up to the touchline to take a throw in, and you look up.
Yeah, no, it is weird. It's weird.
Are they playing a joke on me or something? It's like,
I guess it's better than what they did in. It's better than what they did in Korea, isn't it? Where they had the sex dolls. So that was a bit.
Just going to come on to that. I was going to say, imagine you're a footballer. You look up and it's a picture of the cardboard cutout. It's actually a nice woman. And you're about to take a corner, kick it off the pitch.
Okay. Woo. Oh, hilarious. I think it will be interesting to see eventually when the Premier League does come back to see how we respond to it. I mean, I was just trying to think of some ideas while you guys were speaking. I don't know, perhaps having a speaker that links up to each fan's cutout or whatever, place them on the seat, or I don't know, and then they'll literally be just like the game itself. I don't know. It's so hard. I mean, do you get like 20,000 speakers like per like
bring back fan zone?
Yeah, honestly, say something like fans would be absolutely brilliant. Like having like a fan commentary. I don't know why fans never stopped. Thought it was hilarious. Yeah, obviously just make it so it's PG what you say. Yeah, that kind of thing. I think apart from honestly, I think there's definitely like scope to improve. So let's see what Premier League brings out. See what the Bundesliga does. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, the main fulcrum of this pod is what was the anniversary on Monday, which is the 2005 final. We were speaking just before we started about it being 15 years ago, and that is just insane. Doesn't really feel like it was that long ago. I fully remember the game myself, despite being only 11 years old, to Kev's disgust. I was downstairs in my living room. I was watching the game, watching with my dad. We were 3-0 up. Sorry, we were 3-0 down, obviously, at halftime. My dad goes upstairs. He said, "I'm going to bed. Like, screw this." Me, none the wise. I've been 11. I'm like, what's worse that can happen? I'll just sit down here. I kept watching it. Yeah. And suddenly, within like, I don't know, the next how many minutes, it became 3-3. I go upstairs to shout to my dad that it's 3-3. He's like almost asleep already now. And I go and wake him up. And he says to me, if I'm lying, I'm going to get the beating of my life. You want to do a joke on him. He comes down to his complete shock. He finds us that we're 3-3. So finds out we've come back. He scored 3 goals. So I was jumping around in the joy I've never seen my dad do it in my entire life to this day. So yeah, that's my distinct memory. I don't remember anything after. All I remember is them winning and everyone going happy, amazing. But yeah, so my question to you guys, first of all, is, which I always like to do after watching a game back in that now, is that do you have any changes in perspective after watching the game recently that perhaps you didn't have way back when you watched it in 2005? So I'll start with you, Mark.
Cool. So let me go through what I completely remember from the day and what I would change. So 3-0 down, I remember crying, throwing the remote at the couch. My dad was an Arsenal fan. So I went up to him, I was like, "Yeah, Dad, like, I'm upset, can you help me?" He was like, "Oh, don't worry, it's only football, give me all that nonsense." I was going mad. To the point where I went upstairs and I didn't know there was a first goal, so I didn't see Gerrard's goal. Haven't seen it in live time. I came back downstairs, and I don't know what prompted me to come back downstairs, but I came back downstairs, I saw it was 3-1, and I was completely spun. So, all right, cool, then maybe there's a chance, maybe I should watch it just because. The thing that I remember most vividly is Dudek's save against, was it Shevchenko, the double save? Yeah, that's the image that's ingrained in my head. That's the moment that I was going absolutely nuts, and what I can remember the most vividly. I don't think there would be any changes because we won. Why would you change a winning formula?
No, but then I meant as in, sorry, Mark, perhaps I didn't phrase it properly. I meant as in, is there anything?
Oh, sorry, changes of perspective. My bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I think at the time when I was young, I didn't understand how influential Gerrard was in that game. Because I was only 11 myself, I know I don't look it. I look about 11 right now. But I didn't understand how much he carried the game. So I remember maybe a few weeks after seeing that he was popping up at right back and he played at right back for a spell in the game. And I really, really didn't understand what it meant to do that and do that for a team. So I feel like I have a different sort of appreciation for the players that played, and especially being 3-0 down. And now that I've played football myself and played in matches that I would consider big matches, and being 3-4-0 down myself, I can imagine my mindset at that stage. And I feel like my perspective has changed a lot on the mental toughness of each and every player on that day. Because 3-0 down at halftime is one of the worst places to be, especially in a big final. Yeah. What can you even go in and say to each other? I can't imagine much was said in the changing room. So,
yeah, no, it is crazy. Like, and obviously, recently we had Rafael Benitez go on Monday Night Football and also like give us a bit of a deep dive into what was this legendary team talk, being 3-0 down. Turns out that he basically didn't use his time wisely at all. He told Jimmy Traore to jump because his English wasn't that good. He used to say shower, which obviously means sub, right? So he told Jimmy Traore shower, so that means that he was about to come off. And in all of that, there was Steve Finnan, who was a right back at the time, was begrudgingly being told to come off because he actually had an injury, so he had to come off. So he was like Finnan shower. Jimmy back or something like that, something along those lines. So that was basically his entire halftime team talk, and he gave like a little spiel at the end. And obviously, he wasn't too extensive because his English wasn't that good. Obviously, just arriving from Spain the year before. So that was literally the legendary team talk, which is so interesting because that if we go into that question later on, that in its own shows the leadership that Steven Gerrard had in our team. But yeah, Kev, how about you? What do you think now after watching the game? You said that you were a certain age. I'm not going to say, no one needs to. You said you were a certain age at this time when you watched this game in 2005. After watching it more recently, is there anything you've maybe perhaps given a bit more appreciation to, or been like, wow, you were a really bad player, or just anything from either side? Milan or Liverpool?
Brilliant start. I think you started it well for me, to be honest, because you mentioned Jimmy Traore. Oh my God, I don't like to dig players out here, but please understand, for 45 minutes, he was
so bad. He was so bad. You know what? I have it in my notes. Right? I'm so happy you said this. No. He was so bad.
I'll try not to take anything from your notes yet, but the first minute of the game, he received the ball left back, kicked it line, gave the ball away,
and fouled him.
Then fouled, I can't remember the player, Crespo, Shevchenko, someone. They score from that. The second goal comes down his side. He was just woeful the whole game. So looking back, I don't know how he came back on after half-time, to be honest with you. That's one of the most shocking performances I've ever seen from a Liverpool player. And was that the same season when he back-heeled it into the goal against Burnley as well?
Yeah, against Burnley.
That was earlier in the season, yeah. Scoring one of the best own goals.
Listen, like I said, I don't want to dig anyone out, but he has the cheek to tweet about Istanbul and what a wonderful day it was. He was shocking. Absolutely shocking. But yeah, onto the game. Looking back at it now, I must say, what Kaka did in the first 60 minutes, if we're talking about the opposition, I don't know how he wasn't man of the match.
Scary.
No.
Absolutely scary.
So Gerrard was my favourite player at the time with Kaka. And what Kaka did to him was beautiful. Just taking off my bias hat, it was beautiful, yeah? In regards to any Liverpool player that I think improved, do you know who weren't bad? Luis Garcia.
Luis Garcia is one of my favourite Liverpool players.
Yeah, he was actually on the sort of cusp of the game, trying things. It wasn't coming off, but at least he was trying. Barros, headless.
Barros was terrible. Oh my God.
And then, as you say, I think obviously in the second half, Stevie got a bit more grip of the game because Hammond was able to come on, be his bodyguard, and
sure up a little bit more.
Similar to what Marcus said. I think with Gerrard, I wouldn't say, without washing down his achievement, he was more a driving force of the game. Like, I wouldn't say he observed the most quality, but he was the driving force of the game. And like the Italian teams, after about 60 minutes, they buckled.
Yeah.
We just capitalised on that and then sort of held our own within the game as such. But if I was to change anything from that game, I think I wouldn't have started Harry Kewell. I'd have put maybe Luis Garcia as the number 10. And who did we have? I probably would have started Cisse.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I probably would have started Cisse.
Because it's brilliant that you bring up Cisse, because a friend of the pod, Rob Mush, says that I don't have a question, but I'd like to say that Milan Baros and Djibril Cisse scored 3 goals between them that Champions League campaign, and I hate them for how crap they were. So Milan Baros slander is completely accepted, but this is an Africans only podcast, so we do not take any sort of abuse from Djibril Cisse. No, but on a serious note, Djibril Cisse actually had a double fracture leg break just how many months earlier? It was in October, so that was about 7 months just before.
Yeah, it was against Blackburn, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That was his 10th game on since then. 9 of them, including that game, were as substitutes. So I guess you can excuse Rafa for perhaps not starting him. He was a bit worried about Cisse. And you can actually tell, if you watch the game, you can tell Cisse is very reluctant, understandably, to go into challenges a bit too full-hearted. You know what I mean? Like, he was, obviously, when you break your leg, I mean, you're not going to really want to, you're not going to, like, if you pull your hamstring or you rip it, you're not going to sprint full out anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you still got a bit of PTSD there. So you can see that from Cisse. So perhaps that's why. Baros, in saying that, was woeful. I'd like to agree with you on that. But yeah. Anyway, so thank you for that, Kev. Brilliant. Anik, how about yourself? What are your changed perspectives on the game, thoughts on the game?
Yeah, so I think as Chris mentioned earlier, I remember when like 2005 time I was, going to school and, being a Liverpool fan then wasn't the best because you're just surrounded by Arsenal fans, United fans.
Days. I hear that.
And then all of a sudden these Chelsea fans pop up out of nowhere as well. And what's going on? Yeah. But we'll just let them know that the 04-05 season will be remembered for the Champions League and not their first title win, yeah? Mm-hmm. And then... yeah.
Oh, God. Jeez. Look at the bars. You tell them, bro.
Gems.
I think coming onto the game, my man of the match, I think, has to be Stevie. Mm. I think the header, he just galvanised the team, urging the fans on straight away. Yeah. He ran through on goal for the third one, the penalty. And then I think in Rafa's tactical analysis with Jamie, he had to move to the right back as well and defend Serginho, because I think he just came on and he was just running down the wing, just tearing it up there. So I think Gerrard had to come on and do a job there. But if there's something that I would change in perspective, to be honest with you, Harold, nothing. For me, it was the greatest night ever. We were a shit team. We didn't deserve, on paper, we didn't deserve anything from that game. Mm. And to come 3-0 down against the Italians, we used up two of all our subs by half time. Kewell was off. Smythe had come on. Even Smythe as well. Yeah. What game he had?
Yeah.
He was 32 years old and
last game
6 months out as well. And then just to come back and just to really put the sword in, I think it was amazing. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't change anything.
Fair enough.
Probably in the run up to the final, I think one player for me. I know I would not put him in my top 3 strikers for Liverpool, but Luis Garcia, and I know we've had some contentious debate about that in the past. But I think Garcia's involvement in the run-up to the final was also crucial. I think he scored the goals against Leverkusen. He got, what ended up being the winning goal against Juventus, as well as Chelsea. So I definitely think his involvement, especially in the run-up to the final, shouldn't go missed.
Yeah.
But for me, it was the greatest night, and I wouldn't change anything.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I definitely do agree with the Luis Garcia shout. We do always seem to have this big game player in our team. Obviously, Gerrard's a mainstay throughout it, but Luis Garcia, Cal, they just seem to pop up to get that important goal for us. We did say something, and that was Gerrard's header. Fun fact for you guys: out of Gerrard scored 12 headers in his career. I can most safely say I think that is his greatest header he's ever scored. He was literally just about inside the box when he gets that goal in against Dida. And just to recap for our younger listeners, let me tell you the back the back 5 that AC Milan had, which reading this, it's scary. So they had Dida in goal, which, believe it or not, was the worst of the 5. They had Maldini at left back. They had Nesta at centre back, along with Jaap Stam, and they had Cafu at right back. Now, both fullbacks, so Maldini and Cafu, were in mid to late 30s. So Cafu was 34, Maldini was 37. I've never seen players play in such a disrepresentation of their age in my life, especially Cafu. He's ridiculous. Like, he was up and down that right-hand side, quality of balls, like output, defensively, fantastic. So that's what we were up against. And yeah, somehow we pulled through, which I think was fantastic. Awesome. So I'm going to ask you guys another question. Alex already answered his, but Krish, who is your man of the match from the game? So I want to give you a bit of a time to think about it. It can be from either AC Milan or Liverpool. So yeah, please let me know who your man of the match is and why.
I think Kev made a really good point with the Kaká shout, because watching it at the time, you're seeing this kind of mercurial footballer, and but back then he was. I mean, even now when you're seeing him playing in 7-a-side games in London, you still kind of you see this guy, and even though he's in his 40s now, you see this majestic kind of guy. He's got a godlike status, and his touch and everything. The way he moved the ball, the pass he did for Crespo for the third goal.
Oh my word!
That was ridiculous.
It's absolutely absurd. And I mean, at the time, I don't think being 13, being kind of caught up in that. Oh, fuck you guys for scoring 3. It's literally not until about a few years ago when I watched the game back, I didn't appreciate how good he played, and just the quality of that delivery, and just how that goal was that ball ripped our entire back 4 to shreds, and then the finish from Crespo was just absolutely superb as well.
Carragher, I still think Carragher should have cut that out.
He was literally that far away from it, wasn't he? From the ball.
He did address that on Monday Night Football when he was like, honestly, he was like, he effectively said, if I stretch any further, I'm sure I would have dislocated my leg. There's not there was anything else he could have done. But I mean, he was never blessed with pace, was he?
I think sorry, go on. No, I think so. Sorry, Chris. Coming back to the Kappa point, I think I read somewhere that, actually I saw it as well. He was doing his shin pad when Smeesa scored the second goal, and if he wasn't touching up his shin pad, he would have been marking Didi Hamann. So therefore, he wouldn't have obviously got the ball out to Smeesa, who struck the ball. Mm-hmm. Go back and watch it again, and you see for our second goal, he's there just fiddling around with his shin pad. And that's, I think, ultimately what led to the second goal. Take a look at that. It's quite interesting.
That's a cardinal sin right there, isn't it? It just doesn't. Graham Souness have had an absolute blinder.
I had to watch that game. Obviously, not saying my age anyway, but I watched it with an Arsenal fan and a Chelsea fan. Obviously, first goal goes in after a minute. second goal goes in. And I don't know if you guys know, there's a Nas tune featuring Quan. Just a moment.
Yeah.
Can I please have a moment of silence? After the first half,
Brilliant.
both of them played that the loudest in my ear and just sung it for the whole time until we scored our first goal. So that song, anytime I hear it, always relates to Istanbul 2005.
Man, that is
That's foul, you know. Like, honestly,
that is absolutely brilliant. Oh man. Yes. So Chris, I'm not really sure you chose your man of the match. Who did you say?
Sorry, I'm so busy admiring Kaka that I forgot. I think it has to be Dudek for. I mean, in a game where it's just indicative of his performance. In a game where he didn't really allow 3 goals, did he? I think when you look back at them, all 3 goals were really good constructed goals. Even the best of keepers would have had a bit of a bother, maybe coming off on the first one, but we'll let bygones be bygones. Looking back at it, but again, the double save from Shevchenko. There was a few more stops in there. He commanded the box.
Absolutely ridiculous.
He was a bit flappy at some points in the game. Though, unfortunately, you can't really let that define his game itself, because it didn't result in anything. Fortunately for him, the times where he did more good than he did wrong, and obviously, as you're probably about to allude to, but his penalties, I was about to say stood up strong, but he did the exact opposite. He did the spaghetti legs like Robillard, and made some
he was doing the stanky leg, wasn't he? On the on the byline. So, but no, I mean,
also for some of the penalty saves, he was so far off the line.
Yeah,
he was almost at the penalty spot.
If you let's say one of those times, if you do that in this era now, VAR would be on your ass. Like,
oh mate, that would be what the hell? You're literally so close, mate. Now you can't be doing that. Oh man, fantastic. Okay, just want to ask you guys this question. Yeah, okay. So obviously you guys spoke about different moments in the game. There was Gerrard's goal, there was Smietz's goal, there was Dudek's double save. But Mark, let me ask you, at what point in the game were you convinced that we would actually come through and we'd win it?
The double save.
Same. Yeah.
Alonso's goal was about in the 60th minute, and I thought like there was still so much time for their quality to show through, especially with the players that they had on the pitch. Like, that was literally a team full of legends. And especially when you're playing the game of football, you never know what time the moment of quality will come in the game. Could come in the 80th minute. It's just literally takes a second to score a goal. And then when the double save happened, because I was literally screaming at the TV when Shevchenko got the first one, and all of a sudden Dudek's on the floor and he saves the second one somehow. Yeah, and it was just written in the stars by then.
It made no sense. And also on that note, I've never seen a player as good as Shevchenko go missing in such a big game after playing so well in the first half. So he played very well in the first half, despite not scoring. Crespo scored both, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, he scored both. And
obviously we had was it Maldini? He scored first. So Shevchenko had a decent first half. He obviously created the second goal. On second half, he went completely missing. He had a decent chance where I don't know if it was him, but okay, anyway, it was someone blocked it on the line. That person was Jimmy Traore. Oh, okay. he blocked it on the line, which I actually had down as like, okay, perhaps he's not doing so bad anymore. Once obviously Haman came on and then literally rejigged our whole team, there was just so much more balance. So I just want to go more on the second half and exactly what Rafa did to make us far more threatening or far more stable. Obviously, Haman came on, freed up Gerrard. Haman also sat on Kaka. I did not let him go anywhere, which to this day, if you told me now, without watching the final, that Haman would be able to do that to Kaka, I'd be like, well, of course not. Like, he's long and langly. Kaka is short, nippy, great touch. Of course, he's not going to be able to get past. But obviously, as we saw, Haman did a fantastic job on him. And yeah, the rest is history, as we should say. So let me ask you guys, ignoring the final for just a second, what was your favorite game in the build-up to the final? So from after the group stages, let's not include that.
Shall I go? Yeah.
Sorry, Kev. Yeah, let's start with you.
That's all right. I'm torn between Juventus at Anfield, the 2-1, and Anfield Chelsea 1-0. The Juventus game, I won't lie, I thought we was going to get smoked. So when we came out first half and dominated them, I was like, okay. And then we won the game. I was like, wow, that really happened. Obviously, we then went through, but then I think the atmosphere, and because we was playing English rivals, Chelsea, Jose, 1-0, ghost goal, yeah, whatever.
Exactly, and the way we went through.
And the way we went through, and we scored early as well. And then it was like watching a film, like just a cliffhanger for the rest of the game. So I'm gonna edge towards Chelsea, the Chelsea game, 1-0.
That's
King Louis.
King Louis. Which was a completely legitimate goal, might add. Marco, how about you?
I'm definitely gonna have to go for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Just to go on to what Terry said about English opposition, the fact that I remember that game a little bit more vividly than the Juventus game as well. And the fact that Luis Garcia scored, being one of my favourite Liverpool players at the time, and the manner of the goal, of course.
And Chris, just on that game, before you tell me your favourite game in the build-up, which I would like you to, there is something that you do normally add for people to know, despite that, obviously that being that ghost goal at the Chelsea game. So please, could you enlighten the fans about if it were to be ruled out, what would have happened anyway?
It would have been a penalty to Liverpool, and Peter Cech would have been sent off because it was a clear foul on Milan Barros.
So so you're saying that they should have been happy that they should have been 1-0 down as opposed to 10 men down and 1-0 down, right?
They should have been completely happy because if I remember, their backup goalkeeper at the time might have been
Cudicini?
It might have been Cudicini, yeah. It was either Cudicini or Edgar Hoy.
Big Carlo.
Okay. Well, yeah, anyway. That being said, so they should have been happy with that. So, I mean, ghost goal or no ghost goal, it was a goal in my books. How about your favorite game in the build up to the final?
I'm going to go a little bit left field here. I think the Juventus game, it's either the Juventus game. The first leg was a classic because that Juventus team at the time was massively good as well. I mean, Ned,
they were incredible, man.
They're just really good. And obviously to get the draw in the second leg as well, going away and get that draw. But I think the game for me, I thought, okay, cool, we can maybe do something in this competition. Maybe not. Let's just see where it goes. Was the 3-1 away at Bayer Leverkusen. As we played them a few seasons before, when we got back into the Champions League, I think it might have been 01-02. And they beat us when they went to the final and they lost to Bayern Munich. Actually, no, did they lose to Bayern? No, I think
it was either Bayern Munich or
Real Madrid.
Was it Real Madrid? Yeah, it was. Was that the one where Zidane scored that absolute worldie?
It was,
yeah.
yes, 01.
Yeah.
Surely. Yeah.
So they beat us that season. And I think it just showed the kind of the progression that team went on. Because mostly it was kind of the same guys from that squad that went through, your Sami Hyypiäs, Dudeks, Carragher, Gerrards, and it just showed the progression and the growth of those guys to go away and get a free, and get the win. Because we actually did fairly well in that game against Bayer Leverkusen in the first leg. I mean, Sami Hyypiä scored an absolutely towering header, and seemed to do the exact same thing in the first leg as well. Kind of like have premonitions of that, so that holds a bit of a special place in my heart.
I think that 3-1 game, we went into the second leg. I think we were winning 3-0 at home, and then we conceded a silly goal in the last minute.
Yeah.
So I was a bit nervous going into the second leg, and then I think Garcia again popped up with 2 goals in the second leg, and I was just like, oh, yeah, I'll take that.
Okay, fair enough. Awesome. So, yeah, obviously, as we know, the 05 final was absolutely fantastic. And obviously seeing the scenes from the game afterwards, it looked like, a complete party. AC Milan fans, of which there weren't very many in comparison to Liverpool fans. It was a fantastic celebration. You can see Stevie Gerrard's face before he's about to lift his trophy. all of these exertions, playing at left back, playing at right back. We went to almost like a 5. I think Rafa said on Monday Night Football, we went to like a 5-3-1-1 at one point, where Gerrard just literally got the ball on the right and just hoofed it to Cisse, who did absolutely nothing every single time with the ball. But fortunately, obviously, we came through on penalties. Dudek's fantastic performance. Yeah, and we got our 5th trophy, which we were allowed to keep. Yeah, that was our 05 final. Amazing.
Do you guys remember how late it was, by the way, when that game ended? It was like 11:30 at night, 12 o'clock at night.
It was a Wednesday, innit?
It was a Wednesday
night.
Yeah, because the show, the finals.
Yeah, this was back when ITV, and yeah, finals were on Wednesday, which I do kind of miss.
Oh, it is really funny that you say that, yeah, because I remember them, because I had the ITV commentary on. So obviously I had Clive Tilsey, I think it's Peter Drury as well.
Yeah.
There, and they were like, "Oh, don't worry that Celebrity Love Island will come after this game, guys. So please just beware." I'm like, can you forget about Love Island? Like, what's going on? Like, is this not more important? Anyway, I thought I'd add that in. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that Love Island was.
I went to a bar after, so I've given an indication of my age. But yeah, I went to a bar, had a few brandy and cokes.
You, mate, I would have forgot everything I just watched.
Yeah, I would have had a blur.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, moving on from that fantastic game, I'm just talking about signing. So obviously now, I don't know. I'm gonna call it BC and AC. So before COVID and after COVID, make things a little easier. So BC, not before Christ. There was, like, I guess the market is obviously in a different place in regards to transfers, and it was pretty much looking like a steady, like a sure thing that we would probably land Timo Werner. It just seemed like it would fit. So I just want to ask you guys: is there any and Dan, I'm going to come to you first. Is there been any changes in, or better yet, what are your expectations now for who Liverpool sign, as opposed to who you think they will actually sign? If hopefully that makes sense.
No, complete sense, Harold. I think it's, we went the previous transfer window without actually signing anyone. So my expectations going into this upcoming window, BC, was that there'd be a larger transfer spend available for Edwards and Klopp to kind of bring in any reinforcements. So if the potential was there to go for a Jadon Sancho, let's say, they may kind of fork out the extra money to kind of go and do that. Shore up the expositions, kind of, we're lacking a deputy fullback on the left hand side and potentially on the right hand side, but I think Neco Williams can do that job now. Will we need another centre back if Lovren leaves? What happens with Ronaldo's contract? Would we have to get another central midfielder in? So you kind of have these grand ideas that you can kind of fill all these positions in. You can bring about five players in, with the amount of players that go out, and spend possibly 150 million on new players. But after COVID, I think I've kind of realised that that's a little bit more of a fantasy than anything at this point. Obviously, seeing a lot of football clubs are in financial distress from this, and it actually shows how cash-strapped a lot of clubs are. I'm quite thankful that we're not in that position. We're a really well-run establishment. Thanks to FSG for that one. But yeah, I think I'm a lot more calm about things. I think there's going to be a lot more development from within. I think the players who want to leave will be allowed to leave. So you kind of your Shakiras and your Lovrens, I think they will be allowed to leave. But I think there might be some swap deals involved there as well. So let's say if Lovren went to Roma, we might get kind of, I can't remember the guy's name, Zanolo. He's kind of like a
midfielder.
Yeah, so he's
Zanolo.
Yeah, so I think we may kind of like work something in where we pay 10 million, get him in. I think the Werner deal. Let's see what happens there, because it seems like there's interest. Not even like it seems. There's definite interest from both parties. One of them's twerking, and the other one's kind of receiving the wine.
Back up on him, controlling it on the wall.
So let's hopefully that happens. And then there's soundings about Hossam Aouar from Lyon potentially being available for a bit of a cut price free. So I think it's going to be. I think Rafa said it last week. Good friend of the pod, Rafa Hanigstein, another shameless plug there. He said there's going to be a lot more kind of searching for value in the market, which is where Michael Edwards and that whole scouting department really excel. So there might be the small amount of deals coming in as opposed to the larger ones we're more used to in the coming seasons.
Cool. Awesome. To be honest with you, I feel like you summed that up for all of us, but I'm going to ask one more person anyway. Yeah, so is there anyone, I'm going to come to you, Adek, is there anyone that you had an expectation of signing? If I bet you, I'm going to ask you like this. Is there anyone that you had an expectation signing BC as opposed to the reality that we actually are going to sign AC?
Mbappe.
What was that? I didn't even hear you over your call.
Mbappe. I tried to just sneak it in there.
The agenda gets pushed to 2021. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
2021.
I was actually going to come on and I was actually going to say Mbappe as well. But I have my reasons for it as well. Because I think, going back a couple of years, we got the money from Coutinho that was recycled and we used it for Van Dijk and Alisson. And I just think as a club, we've gone global now. Since then, we've won 2 Champions League finals. We've won the Club World Cup. And last year, we didn't spend anything. And with the Nike kit deal as well going through earlier this year, I was keeping quiet and I had my fingers crossed that, we're going to get a marquee signing here. And I really thought we're going to go and get Mbappe. Genuinely, I did. But obviously, the financial situation has completely changed. And I think realistically, Werner is probably the only guy we could realistically get. As Chris put it, there's interest from both sides. And even if we don't get him this window, I know with the release clause and everything that's happening there, we could probably get him for slightly cheaper. But coming back to the original question, my expectation was a big marquee signing, just based on the fact that we've actually gone global. Huge. We've become so huge, especially in the past 2 years. And I thought that we were going to get like a big marquee signing this year.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, so I believe BC anyway, that with outgoings as well, because I feel like we could possibly raise 100. Well, BC, we could possibly raise 100 mil. Harry Wilson going out, Shaqiri going out. There's a few fringe players who we do need to shift, and I felt like we could have raised that amount.
Yeah.
Especially to add that to the fact that we didn't sign anyone last summer, all that extra income would have contributed to us believing Mbappe would come. I still do feel like we will get a couple signings. I feel like we'll spend 100 mil max. Whether that outlay be on one player, which could be Kyle Havertz, or whether it be on 2 players, maybe ideally anyway, Werner and Auer, or whoever Mike Edwards sees as feasible and will contribute to the team. Yeah. But with the Nike deal, I do see Nike wanting to have a face to bring in as well.
Yeah.
I can't imagine them trying to do a whole new kit launch with, I guess, with the same players. Yeah, they're Premier League winning players, but you would want to bring in a fresh face that would be the budding face for the whole time of the contract.
I think I remember seeing something about them coming on board and maybe taking Mane from New Balance and bringing him on.
Oh, really?
I was just going to say, none of the front 3 are Nike, are they?
No, but I know what Virgil is.
Okay,
I think Virgil, Ox, and
Henderson.
Yeah.
They're Nike boys. I think you can see a lot of campaigns that Nike are doing with Virgil, especially. And obviously him being cover of FIFA at the moment as well. So I don't know, perhaps that. But yeah, no, definitely what you're saying about the marquee signing. We definitely do feel like we need areas, probably midfield, centre back or centre half, full back, and obviously a forward. So those are the 4, I'd say. I think we would be daft, especially in this transfer window, to not improve. I think we can all agree on that. With Chelsea obviously having that kitty that they have built up from obviously being banned for making transfers. We have City who obviously spend big every year regardless. But obviously, it looks like they're gonna miss out on the Premier League. So, and there's just a huge gulf in the difference of points between us and Man City. So naturally, Pep is gonna go back to the board and say, I need to bridge that gap via X amount of players, right? So, and obviously they have money in being funded by the state. You obviously have money in X amounts, so life is good. So yeah, we would definitely be remiss if we weren't to look at to bolster our squad.
What do you guys think will? I'll say AC after COVID. Naby's should have been resting, so that's a new player. Ox should have rested. So listen, I don't think the squad's that bad.
You saw the big smile there. You saw the big smile there when Naby's been resting.
So in essence, yeah, I think. Listen, if we can't get Werner, I still reckon we'll get him next season. Yeah, but I'd go and unsettle Saka from Arsenal.
Yeah, not mad at
because I feel that he can play left back.
Yeah, no matter that.
He can play left wing. He's young, and
English
I don't think the compo would be that much. English, powerful, can get up and down. Sometimes I always feel like you just got to go for these players. Just turn their head, and then he might have a bad season next season because we've turned his head.
But I mean,
we get him the following season.
I mean, you're joining a 6-time winning UCL team, just won the Premier League. They want you at left back. You've clearly seen, despite Arsenal doing the same.
That's what I'm saying. Come and play.
Like embedding their youth products, like all these kind of things. I think you'd be daft not to at least listen to the offer. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you.
It's
so,
like you've seen the trajectory that Trent's gone on from the literally opposite flank.
Yeah.
You can come in and replicate that. You know what I mean?
And
you can play left wing as well,
and you'll be loved by the fan base, which definitely is a big thing. I mean, it's not one day that Trent isn't reminded that he is literally heart and soul of him being the scout. So like, I definitely think that there's a lot of reasons why someone would come, especially a young player. But cool. Anyway, let's see how that plans out. Just before we go into this question, I was going to ask you guys, with obviously the season, I don't know, coming to an end somewhat, I guess, round about when the Premier League starts again, they probably will announce the PFA Player of the Year. So I want to ask you guys, have we considered to the fact that Henderson will be the Premier League Player of the Year, or do you feel as though the accolade belongs to someone else? It doesn't necessarily have to be a Liverpool player. So, Mark, I can see you smiling, so I'm going to start with you.
I've conceded to the fact. I don't want to say completely deserved, but I can understand why he'll be given it. I would say if City were better, I would have went Kevin De Bruyne because his assist total and his output this season has been ridiculous.
Yeah, you know what? I do agree with that. It is really difficult giving it to a team who are so far off from the top.
Exactly. So I can understand why you would give it to Henderson, especially him being the captain of the team that is absolutely blitzing the PL. And he has contributed himself. So I can understand why I have conceded to it. Anyone else more deserving? I can't say yes because Henderson has been a big part of this title push.
Fair enough. Cool. Yeah, does anyone feel as though someone other than Henderson should be given the Player of the Year? Please speak now or forever hold your peace.
I've always thought Mane should get it, to be honest with you. But Henderson is going to be a Premier League winning captain. And I mean, I don't know if you guys remember that season Ryan Giggs won it.
Yeah, I do.
And all he done was he scored a goal against West Ham. I think he played about 10 games.
11 games,
yeah. And he won it. So, I mean, as much as I don't rate Henderson, but being fair, if Giggs can win it for doing that, Henderson should be in with a shout. But my vote would go to Mane, to be honest with you.
Cool. And you wouldn't have any complaints for me if that was the case.
Yeah. Not from here either.
Anik, Krish, how about you? Well, go on, Krish.
I feel like there's a slight case to be made for Virgil to kind of repeat the award just because of the kind of the defensive stability that we've had. Possibly Salah as well. I think you can make an argument for Virgil, Mane, and Salah, just in terms of obviously the importance that they've had to the team. But it's like you've said, Harold. Premier League winning captain. Not necessarily. He is very much kind of heart and soul of the team. I think you've seen a lot since there's been nothing else to write about, how Henderson's been integral to the mood at Melwood, getting the players going, kind of putting a little bit of a arm around everyone's shoulder. And as much as I think it would begrudge certain sections of the fan base to admit, he has actually played really well this season. Sometimes not outstanding, but he's always been there. His positional awareness, I think the season's been really good in terms of filling in, kind of like when Trent's been pushing up. And he's just been that ever-present leader. And at some point, you've just got to take your hands off and applaud that.
And I think somewhat overstated recently, and actually somewhat underestimated or underappreciated in previous times, is the mental aspect of the game. Obviously, those that play it and study the game perhaps have a bit more appreciation towards it. But perhaps just for an everyday fan, the mental side of the game is not to extent that important for them. And don't get me wrong, it's nowhere near as important as the physical aspect of the game, of course. But I do think Henderson does hold a lot of the mental attributes that a winner has. So just that will to succeed, that endeavor, that drive kind of thing. That kind of thing is what is the reason why I believe he is captain. Like, there's a reason why he survived so many tenures, as we often say, of managers at Liverpool. He's still here, one of the few players to still be here since the turn of the decade, or more or less. So yeah, there's definitely a reason as to why I do believe he should win it, and I'm slowly resigning to the fact that he probably will win it, whether deserved or not. Okay, debatable, but I do think he probably will win. And him, Mane, I'm not that fast, but I do feel like he should be a Liverpool player, considering we are so far ahead of City. Obviously, there was the year 13-14 where Suarez won it, even though we finished second. He was exceptional, and we were very close to catching City. So you can understand why he won it over Yaya, but this year I know it's hard to give it to De Bruyne, because his influence on the game is there, but it's not necessarily represented in their points total. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Just a quick bit of trivia, since Chris mentioned Van Dijk. We're one of 2 teams to concede less goals than we've played games. Do you know who the other team is? I'd be very surprised.
I think is it
Sheffield
United?
Sheffield United.
Also.
25.
Do you know why I know that? Because I kept getting clean sheets from their
Lundstrom. FPL.
on fantasy football, boy. Also, so I want to use that. I'm just going to go into the listeners' questions. There's only a couple, so I'm just going to ask them. We've got one question from Jogba Hive. He asks, can you lot touch on Carragher's performance? So this is obviously about the 2005 final. Like Gerrard and Alonso, he stepped up after half-time, but Twitter makes you think he's like Mustafi. So, Alec, how about you? Would you like to go first and answer this question?
So I watched, again, that tactical analysis with Rafa. And for some reason, Carragher just seems to remember everything about the halftime team talk.
You know what? And if you watch some of the stuff recently coming out on Sky, which has been fantastic, by the way, on their YouTube channel, his memory of football games is outrageous.
Outrageous.
He doesn't seem to forget anything. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You continue at it.
Yeah, so I think he was telling stuff to Rafa in the dressing room, saying, "Oh yeah, well you told us this and that." I think he was a leader that night as well. I think he was. I remember there was one moment where the ball got slipped through in the second half, and it was, I think Kaka rolled it back, or someone rolled it back, and he got in there and he intercepted the ball from them scoring. I think his celebration at the end was just amazing. I think just jumping around. I think I don't remember too much about his performance, to be honest with you, but I think what Rafa definitely said in his tactical analysis with Sky was that we had characters in the dressing room, and he definitely alluded to Carragher and Stevie being one of them.
Yeah.
So I think his influence off the pitch and was a massive factor, and I think he was definitely a big character in the dressing room.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. So, does anyone have anything else to add to that?
So just to go on to the second, Kevin, sorry.
It's cool.
Just to go on to the second bit of the question, as a famous quote always goes, you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. And I feel like Carragher is just unfortunate. His tenure was so long. He started to lose a lot of pace towards the end of his career, and you could literally see that.
Started with that much, but
Yeah, obviously, yeah, he never really had that much pace. But to be honest, a quick fact as well. I remember him saying he used to be a striker. He used to be one of the quickest people, one of the best strikers in Liverpool. And then as he started playing with better players, he realized he's not that good and started becoming a defender.
I think, you know what?
Yeah,
just before you go over, I think that is a sign of a player who can exist in an era where they know they're not that good but can still play. I think that is a very humbling experience. I think that's actually a sign of a very good player. But yeah, you go on.
Yeah, so I feel like towards the end of his tenure, he didn't have the pace to keep up with emerging strikers. And as something I've always mentioned is I feel like attacking gets better at a different rate compared to defending. It progresses a lot better. And attackers always have that edge. So I know a lot of people remember...
Be a defender kind of thing.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to score goals.
Everyone wants to score goals. Everyone wants to attack. Everyone wants to be the skillful one. And that creates more inventive attackers. And then defenders are more reactionary. It's more, you learn what an attacker does and then you learn how to defend against it.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, I know a lot of people remember Henry absolutely tearing Carragher a new one. And that is what people tend to center around on, is he couldn't defend that. But at the same time, we need to remember Thierry Henry was one of the greatest strikers that we've ever seen. And pace-wise, he would have taken anybody for a ride. Maybe not Virgil, maybe. But he would have taken most people for a ride.
Yeah.
And we do need to context these things. We do need to context that if throughout his whole career, he was a very, very good servant for the club. He wasn't the greatest, but he knew what skills he had. He knew how to use his skill set very well to contribute to the team. And similar to someone who we mentioned earlier, Shevchenko, who was an amazing striker and was absolutely ridiculous for years, but he moved to Chelsea and you could see the fall off, and a lot of people remember him for that as opposed to him being an absolutely ridiculous striker.
Yeah, because
similar.
You said that because 2 years before 03 final for Milan, he actually won that for them. So yeah.
And in a similar vein, Carragher was a great servant for the club and was a great player for us, but because a lot of people remember the end of his career where he probably shouldn't have been playing at as high a level as he was, people tend to center more on that. We do need to remember that football needs to be taken into context. When you're mentioning someone's career especially, remember every single thing that they've done, everything that they've accomplished, as opposed to just what you remember and just what you get shown on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's definitely some advice to myself when I have my agendas. Yeah, go on, Kev. You're about to say something. What do you think about his performance?
I'll be totally honest. For me, Carragher, it was like a passion merchant performance, to be honest with you, because for me, Hippier was that guy.
Hippier?
So,
you know what? It's funny you say that because I felt
disrespected.
Yeah, and not only that, but I felt he was the only man who could keep his head held high after that first half. I thought he played genuinely well, but he was the 3 goals.
He was the brains behind our defense, and I think people think because they saw Carragher shouting, but Carragher was for me a very reactive defender. Where Hippier had no pace whatsoever, Hippier just stood on the edge of the box. Ball comes long, I'm going to head it out. If you're playing through balls, I'm going to read where it is. So, because he had no pace whatsoever. So, for me, a guy, how tall was he? Like 6'4", 6 foot.
Hippier,
whatever.
Yeah.
Massive.
6'3", 6'4". Yeah.
Couldn't run, had no pace whatsoever, but he was so solid. And I think positionally, and his intelligence is what sort of saved Liverpool on numerous occasions. So I do think Carragher was a bit overrated. I think he was a good, steady player for Liverpool. But me, I like winding up Arsenal fans and giving them banter. For me, Carragher at the time was better than Kola Toure.
Yeah. Okay.
So I will always say I would have taken Carragher over Toure, but for me, Hippier was the man at Liverpool.
Cool. Fair enough. I do think Carragher in that performance itself, that final, he did get better as the match went on. As he went into a back five with Gerrard next to him on the right, he definitely performed a lot better. Which of course is easier to perform in a back five, I'd say, as a right centre back as opposed to a back four. Obviously, it's generally there's way more cover. But yeah, I think you summed it up pretty brilliantly. I think Hippier definitely gets all the plaudits. Chris, I'm going to come to you on this question from our other fantastic host on the pod. He'll love me for saying that. This is Fo Thumb. He asked, why does Haman's introduction in the second half always get overlooked when discussing the miracle? What do you think?
It's not flashy, is it? I think that's the thing. It's not.
This.
It's not.
It's not Genie.
This is the thing. I mean, Genie comes on, last season against Barcelona, and scores 2 goals, sends us through to the final. It doesn't have that same kind of starry impact. You know what I mean? That kind of 2 goals. The energy it brings. But Haman came on and he steadied the ship so well. I think we talk about underrated players from that time. I think Dietmar Hamann,
brilliant,
criminally underrated. I mean, this is back into 2002. This is a German international midfielder who started in the World Cup final.
And on the topic of Hamann, I'm surprised someone like Klopp hasn't actually approached him for a coaching role. He just seems like that kind of player who would have a good footballing brain as well.
I think when he a bit of a drinker and a bit of banter. I think so, yeah.
I mean, Klopp is definitely a drinker.
I heard he's a bit of a madman.
He's definitely a drinker.
Well, do you remember?
I heard Haman's a bit of a madman.
Do you remember Do you remember the story of them when they went to Tokyo for the Club World Cup? And I think a few of them they went out for a few drinks and stuff. And Dietmar Hamann ended up getting arrested.
Oh my god! Okay, I think
yeah. See, I remember he's a cannon. He's a cannon. He doesn't look like one, but he's a cannon.
Who is this calm, collective guy? Honestly, ignore me. Yeah, Chris, please continue as you were saying.
But yeah, no, I mean, he came on, steadied the ship, allowed players to push into positions where they felt more comfortable. And again, it's like the one thing that we had that question earlier on. What was the one thing you change? And I think Annick was right in saying that you changed nothing at all because the way the evening panned out, perfectly. Well, it didn't go to plan, but it went, got us to the end goal. I think the only thing you probably may do is you probably don't play Harry Kewell and you play Dietmar Hamann instead, and probably push Gerrard further up. But yeah, it is one of those things where it's not etched in, everyone's memory from back then. I mean, there's loads of things you can relate it to. It's like there's loads of NBA final moments where there's role players stepped up, and I mean, I think the one that stands out to me is Danny Green's performance in the 2014-15 NBA finals for the Spurs against the Heat. Comes in, hits loads of threes, but Kawhi ends up with finals MVP, and that kind of falls to the wayside. But yeah, I just don't think he's got the pizzazz as a Wijnaldum performance. And I actually saw an interesting picture yesterday where it says where it's literally Hamann energy. And, it's the same energy. It's legit the same energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just for our NBA fans, Van Fleet as well. Freddie Van Fleet.
My days. Fred Van Fleet in last year's finals made Steph Curry his wife. That's what he did.
No, you are definitely right in what you're saying, in the fact that we are in, like, I don't know what's the currency nowadays is goals and assists, isn't it, in football? So, or football Twitter at least. So it's like unless you can directly contribute to that, then it's like, did you really do anything at all? That's the vibe we get. That's how we judge a player. So I think that's perhaps why those who fully who watch the game like us, I think we noticed there was literally what changed. It wasn't just Gerrard just popping up in the right position at the same time. What enabled Gerrard to even be in that position?
Exactly.
So
the stream of defensive responsibility and allowing him to get to where he needed to be.
And I think most importantly, probably shutting down Kaka, because even if he freed up Gerrard, Kaka would have gone and scored another, going to create how many more goals.
I think what happened, Hamann just snuffed out the space. I wouldn't say man-marked Kaka, but
he didn't. Yeah, you're right.
He just snuffed the space out. So Because even like in the first half, it was like Seedorf and Kaka that just kept getting between the lines, and because of Gerrard and
Hello,
Xabi,
just
they were
feeding them passes.
pushed. Yeah. So I think Hammond come and snuffed out the space and just gave it simple, steady head, steadied the ship, and the others got to do what they could do.
I think what Chris said, the fact that he wasn't like that starry-eyed sort of performance. If you ask anyone when did it change, everyone's going to say it was the Gerrard goal. It was from there that galvanised us, that changed it. But if you look behind it, Gerrard wouldn't have been up the pitch.
Yeah.
That end of the pitch if it wasn't Haman sitting. Kaká wouldn't have been able to, break the lines. And also, Haman, he scored the penalty as well, didn't he? So
Yeah.
Did he?
There's a lot of half-time energy with Liverpool in finals. I mean, obviously, Haman coming on at half-time. I think the season after in the FA Cup final, remember Jibril Cisse in his multicoloured boots?
Yeah.
Scoring that volley in
volley. That was a beautiful volley. Watching it over his shoulder.
Beautiful goal.
Just out of curiosity, and just to throw this out there, which one do you think was Gerrard's better performance? The FA Cup final or Champions League?
FA Cup.
FA Cup.
It's called the Gerrard final for a reason. You know what I mean?
Was ridiculous. Like, it didn't actually make sense. I didn't understand how anyone can. First of all, the ball didn't even bounce. Yeah, when he hit that ball, that last shot, it literally cut the grass. Shaka Hislop had no chance. It was outrageous.
The thing is, he said he was tired, knackered.
Yeah.
And the last minute to produce that technique.
He's even said that if he wasn't as tired as he was, he wouldn't have shot.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Everything just pieced together perfectly for us.
The poeticness of that goal, because obviously the stadium announcer goes, there'll be an extra 3 minutes of added time. He just comes up, absolutely twats the ball perfectly, straight into the corner. I mean, I went to that. I mean, and it's the energy was just absolutely unreal. The let off when he scored that was just absolutely beautiful.
I actually don't know what I would have done. Obviously, I live in East London, so West Ham winning a final against Liverpool, and people around me know that I'm a Liverpool fan, always complaining, blah, blah, why do you support this? I'm like, John Barnes, he's black, blah, blah. Anyway, so they always just stick my way. So if we lost that, my best mate sports West Ham, I would have been laughed off the town. So honestly, I was thankful to Gerrard for more than one reason. But anyway, at the risk of both Anik and the risk of us not being able to see both Anik and Krish, we're gonna end the pod there as the night embarks on us. I'm gonna say thank you guys for tuning in thus far. Hopefully you guys stay the whole way. If you're still with us, thank you very, very, very much. But yeah, it doesn't stop there. We're back every Wednesday morning, so please check us out on Spotify and Apple Music, and also tune in and get involved in the discussion on Twitter using the hashtag TOUCHLINEFRACAS. And that's us at KOPEND Fracas. We wish you a good day and a good night. Take care.
Yeah.
Peace.